Notes for my August 2024 reading of Always Running by Luis Rodríguez. I'm filming this Saturday, 17 August 2024, the same day I finished reading it. I am Tanis Coralee Leonhardi, she, her, hers of Seattle, and these are my book and reading notes for my August 2024 reading of an autobiography / memoir on writer Luis Rodríguez. Always Running, La Vida Loca, Gang Days in LA, where LA stands for Los Angeles, which is a city in California. It is by Luis Rodríguez. It was initially published in 1993, and it got published again in 2005. So this is the 2005 Touchstone edition. Do it double paperback. I'll put the ISBN in the video description. I started the book on Monday, 12 August 2024, and finished the book today, before I started filming this, on Saturday, 17 August 2024. And it was 263 pages, including the About the Author section, and it took me 6 days. So that's an over 40 pages per day average. As a public library copy, I did put it on hold. Yes. I was searching, I was like, I should do like a running biography or memoir, and so I had already read Running Man, a memoir by Charlie Engle, who ran across the Sahara Desert west to east with a few other people, and there was this one, and I was like, you know, I read the description, I was like, I don't think it's about running, but that's probably a reason to read it, is like sometimes the biggest blind spots of athletes or people in general are the other meanings of the name of the sport, or essential ingredients to sports performance. So like I was at a dinner table, having a dinner table conversation with my dad and mom the other day, and I kept bringing up podium, and dad was like, and a podium is gold, silver, bronze. But as a reminder, in academic settings, in science settings, in like, my dad was a project manager at Boeing and stuff, a podium is something one might use when speaking or teaching a class or giving a talk at a conference, right? So podium in that sense for sports is kind of illogical, right? So in that sense, I was like, you know, alternative meanings, right? There's a lot of words have more than one meaning, so it's like, I'm gonna read this. So I did. So that's the introduction. Book notes. It was full text per page, smaller font, but not super small, not like Molly's Game. At least the edition I read. And the spacing was smaller, but not like super small. And there was chapter number and then name of the book at the top. And it kind of typesetting, I think earlier on? It felt like, so yeah, it was a different, yeah. To actually say chapter went right. There you go. There was italicized terms sometimes. There were paragraph breaks. Some had symbols. Some had symbols. Some did not. Yes. I didn't really have any critique. Like I liked the formatting. Yes, maybe I'm saying that. Reading notes. So yes, it did not end up being about the sport of running. However, the author does allude to they understand that running is a sport because they talk about the Olympic Games and how boxing was being introduced at the Olympic Games or something like that, and so he got into boxing. And I should put this in the boxing playlist, actually. So I'm considering what are the 3 sports that have been at the Olympic Games for every edition, which is like running, swimming, and fencing. So I would guess that he was not non-knowledgeable since he was bringing up, you know, Olympic sports. Yeah, so I think the kind of takeaway here was he kind of portrays his younger life and adolescence specifically, and how things were always moving fast, and there was a bunch of stuff going on, and a bunch of violence and hate and yada yada yada, and he really hated white people. So it's kind of like, well, it's being a hypocrite saying they hate you and then you do the exact same thing back, right? And especially he says white people, and his dad was full-blooded Spanish, and I'm like, Spain is part of Europe. But like, so he's one of those people that, interestingly enough, I'll say, this one, there were 2 others that, the Alicia Keys that was published back in, was it 2021, that I've done a book / reading notes on, and then Mama Scotch for a man of the Cree original peoples or first peoples of Canada. All three, so they're older than me by 5 or more years, on between 31.00 and 32.00 years of age currently. And all three, so those two and this one, are at least 5+ years of age older than me at the time the book was published. He was 38. In the back, he says how old. Right, he was 20 years after 18 or something, so he was 38 at this time of this book being published, or when he dated it, July 1992. And, so I guess writing. They all seem to have deficiencies in understanding their mixed ancestry. They all highlight their minority ancestry at the expense of their European ancestry. And I was like, well, I guess it's a very, you know, my entire lifetime, as I found out, since this was July 1992, what was it, the epilogue was July 1992, which was before I was born, whether I was born in 1992 or 1993. So it's been going on my whole life, right, is the kind of pushing aside of the original peoples of the regions of the United States of America, as well as white people. I just kind of slam them all with hate and impersonate. And so this book was very much in the tone with that. And I was just kind of like, it is an interesting thing, right? All three of the books did the downplay, right? Like, or just, right, straight up don't even accept that that's their ancestry, or don't get to it later in life. So I guess what I'm learning is I'm 31 years of age, not yet 32 years of age, and I'm really far ahead, right, on accepting who I am in terms of my ancestry. So that's like woke human here, right? So that's kind of been a weird gold star on my own life story and actually accepting who I am. Okay. There we go. All right. He decides to portray race by skin tone. So that's page 32. Yes. Like, right, so then if one's mixed, they should have speckles, right? Like me, multiple skin tones. If one's more than one thing. Is that how that works? Am I what people should look like? Yeah. Let's see, I flagged something over here. I find it, so pages 40 to 41, a lot of like white people hate again, but he's half Spanish, per his own claims, right? The hatred of whites is, I'll duly note, as someone who is some percentage of European ancestry, meaning some being more than 1%. Yes, your hate is duly noted. On page 71, he says Jesus Christ was a Mexican Indian. You know, I would say, so essentially this is what people who are not of white ancestry do. Anything founded by white people or started by white people, essentially people come along and lie and say it's somebody else. So essentially, right, this book was the inspiration for the Broadway play Hamilton. At some point, people who preach about respect might be useful to actually learn what the word respect means. It's an English word. Yeah, also if you're going to hate on white people, don't use white people language. This was written in English. Which he claims he's 0 parts of. So using a person's language or something from a different ethnicity to hurt the people of that ethnicity. So one way to get to hell, is called being worse than that ethnicity, per my perspective. Page 114, he alludes to an oracle type figure elder that was very formative for him. Page 130, so throughout the book he talks about his catch and release sexual behaviors and conduct. So essentially he has sex with a lot of women and then lets them go, so catch and release. And then he says that women don't have feelings for men. And to be fair, I am some percentage white, and he's never been with a white woman, or some percentage at least my type white. So I guess he just had sex with inferior women. I still have feelings for men, and I'm 31 plus years of age, although I'm also still a virgin. I don't know. What does his community lose their virginity? Average age of virginity lost for Latinos is 5 years of age. There you go. All right. Yeah. Oh, and then page 251, I guess the last kind of, he says other people stop running, but he himself has not stopped running. So I guess it's kind of like sabotage, right? He gives other people advice to throw them off, but doesn't follow it himself, so he gets further ahead. But it's the epilogue is dated July 1992. So even though it was first published in 1993, right, the writing stopped before that publishing. In conclusion, what would I give it? I think for losing sight of the overlying concept of running, as someone who is a runner and has competed in running, and has been my own coach in addition to competition, right? Like in dietitian and nutritionist and stuff for myself, he completely loses sight of the concept of running throughout the book. He like brings it up like at 2 or 3 points, and I'm like, if the advice was like heartfelt and genuine about stop running, that failed on communication. So I'll give it a 2 out of 5 stars. 2 because I read the whole thing and I did not dislike the formatting, right? But it completely lost sight of the title. Sorry. Well, I'm not sorry. That's their doing. So there you go. That's my notes for my August 2024 reading of Always Running by Luis J. Rodríguez.